We have with us Karraine Moody, who is the Executive Director of Hartford Area Habitat for Humanity. Welcome, Karraine.
Hi, Donna.
Thanks so much for being with us, Karraine. I'm really excited to have you tell us a little bit about the Habitat mission and particularly what Habitat is doing in Hartford County. So can we start with that?
Oh, most definitely. You know, Habitat, we were established in 1976, and our whole entire mission is about building decent, simple homes for families in need of housing. I would say that the niche part of our mission is that it's surrounded by home ownership. And so we're giving families the opportunity that would never qualify for a conventional mortgage, the opportunity to say, I own my home. It is a partnership program where we're bringing in community stakeholders, corporate, churches, individuals, faith, and through all of those stakeholders, we're able to fulfill our mission.
So the community is really coming together in different ways to build this house together with the family, is that correct? So I think one of the misconceptions sometimes is that Habitat builds a house and a family just gets the house. In fact, the family plays a pivotal role. Can you tell us a little bit about the role that the family plays?
Most definitely. So our families they are the homeowner, and we actually convey the property to our families with a 0% interest mortgage. And so that's how we're able to help families that would never qualify for a conventional mortgage. And one of our models is that we are giving a hand up and not a handout. And so part of our program is that our homeowners actually complete over 200 hours of sweat equity. 150 of those hours are actually working on the site, working in another home, their home, and they're learning construction skills as they're building their home. The other 50 hours is geared towards financial literacy, education, maintenance, and many times addressing some of the financial
sort of barriers,
you know, question marks or the unknown about we're about to take this big step. And so how do I change my behavior around money to support this next step in my life, especially for myself as a homeowner and then as for my children.
So it sounds like you're really setting the homeowner up for success by making sure that once they, you know, help to build this house with the community, that they know how to maintain the house and also to stay financially stable and sustainable so that they can continue to afford the house.
Yes,
right?
Most definitely. I mean, one of the things that I think is very unique in Habitat is that, you know, it's not just a matter of turning over the keys. There's a lot of education going in. You know, many times we sit down and we explain the budget process for a town. We explain why it's important that you get involved when it's time to vote for your district or your city or town's budget process. And so how all of these decisions, your engagement actually goes towards, you know, what happens with your taxes and your mill rate, what happens with your school systems. And so it's a whole entire program that is home ownership, but you're learning civic engagement, you're also learning financial management. And I think, you know, I've been with the affiliate for 12 years, and when you look at our families and they come back into the office, they are so empowered. You know, they know what's going on, and it's not as if we're just turning it over and saying goodbye. It's a 30-year commitment, and we're partnering with these families for 30 years.
Yes, you mentioned that it's about 30 years. I guess next year is going to be your anniversary, Hartford Area Habitat for Humanity. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be planning for that 30th year anniversary, and also where within the Hartford area you've been working for almost 30 years.
Awesome. So, you know, I think it's amazing. So Hartford Habitat, we were started in 1989. In October of 2018, we're going to have a kickoff event, and it's really to celebrate 30 years of building homes, partnering with families, working with our community partners, and seeing the end result of what that collaboration turns out. So what is the yield? What is the return on the investment? And so we're really excited about that. One of the things that we're looking forward to is the fact that for the past 30 years we've built in Hartford, we've built in Bloomfield, we actually have 2 homes in Farmington, we have homes in East Hartford, New Britain, Bristol, and so it's more so sharing that fact that we service Hartford County.
Okay.
And with some of our newer programs, we're able to do more than just new construction. We're doing rehabs. We're working with banks that have homes or units that have gone through the foreclosure process and they're looking for home ownership. And so more and more, we're able to serve more families. We've outstretched beyond just building how many homes did you build. It's more so how many families have we served. And so just bringing light to the fact that for the past 30 years, we've built over 231 homes.
Wow.
And this year alone, we serviced over 40 families.
Wow.
And so it's what other ways can we go beyond just building a house
Sure.
and actually build more community and build hope.
And I would imagine with nearly 30 years under your belt, we're talking about generations as well that have been impacted because, you know, you've probably, obviously, being in the nonprofit world, you've heard about how many times we're looking to do a two-generational or possibly multi-generational approach, and certainly when you're helping a family, you're doing that for sure. Speaking of families, I think there's also this preconception that the family is like the traditional nuclear family, mom, dad, and children. I don't think that's the case. Can you tell us about the variety of families that you have served?
Oh, our families are diverse in every aspect. I would say that we have the traditional nuclear family, mom, dad, and kids. We've also had extended families with grandparents living in the home. We've had single parent households. But what I find is the commonality is that all of our homeowners, regardless of race, creed, belief, they all want that. They all want to experience that joy of saying, I own this. And that to me is worth sharing. And it's also to share the fact that, you know, the shortage in terms of affordable home ownership, affordable housing, it's very alive and well. It's not a hidden thing. You have need in every single area of Hartford County, and you know, with some of our new programs, we can actually address some of those, some of that need.
And I think another misconception sometimes is that Habitat is a very Christian organization, and so the misconception might be that it's Christian families that are helped. That's absolutely not the case. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
So I would say yes. We were established on a Christian foundation, but I would want to place a lot of emphasis on the fact that we want all faiths. We actually have families who practice, you know, no faith, Muslim faith, Catholic faith, Christian faith, everything imaginable.
Sure.
We, you know, twice a year we try and host a Building on Faith where we bring in and we invite our partners to come out and do a mixed build.
So it's an interfaith.
It's an interfaith build.
Interesting.
And I think that brings more understanding, and it also breaks down walls.
Yes.
And it shares the fact that we're all in this together, and that it's not just a Christian thing, or, you know, it's all of us. It's humankind. It's our human race. We all are looking for the opportunity to help someone, and we're all in some cases looking for the opportunity to own a home.
Sure, wonderful. Speaking of homes, there's a lot of people who are watching this show that probably have too many things in their homes. And that brings me to over the 30 years, I think Habitat's done some really amazing things, and one of them is a program called Restore. And Hartford County, Hartford area Habitat is we're fortunate that you have brought the Restore concept to the Hartford area. Can you tell us about it, where it's located, what it does?
So I just adore our Restore. So our Restore is located at 500 Cottage Grove Road in Bloomfield. And the purpose behind the Restore is that we're able to support families. And the way we're able to do that is because our Restore takes in donations of used furniture, building materials, appliances, and we're actually able to give the donors a tax-exempt form that says, I donated this item to Habitat. I would say that we take everything except for clothes.
Okay.
And we're able to then resell those items and support families that may not be able to afford, a brand new washer and dryer. They may not be able to afford a brand new dining room set, but these items are gently used. We make sure we do an inventory check and make sure everything is good, and then we're able to resell. And I think the highlight of the Restore is that it's taking items that in other cases it might have landed in the landfill. It might have been trashed out, and so you're repurposing these items.
Sure.
So it's benefiting a family, but it's also benefiting our environment.
Our planet, sure.
And so I think it goes hand in hand. And some people say, well, why would Habitat care about our planet? And the reason why it connects is that all of our homes are Energy Star rated.
Okay.
And so we're constantly working to build simple, decent homes, but homes that can support the environment, but also have built-in savings for our homeowners.
Sure, sure.
So, and that means it might be more insulation. That means we might build it in a certain way so that you don't have leakages and you're using the best materials and you're working with other partners so that you're building a solid home for that family. Because many of us know utilities, the electric bills,
so expensive.
It's so expensive.
Sure.
And so when you're dealing with our homeowners, you want to make sure that you're turning something over that's not a burden. And so that goes hand in hand with our mission in terms of, our Restore is eliminating waste, but it's also a back alley complement to what we do on our sites.
Speaking of sustainability, is solar panels, is that something that they've done anywhere nationally with Habitat?
So we have some national partnerships through Habitat International. And one of the things we've done locally is we vetted 2 different vendors, and we made sure that they were non-predatory, that they would work with our homeowners, and it's part of our move-in workshop where we explain the pros and cons of solar. We explain the details of their home so they know how to operate their fans and their certain air filters and their circulation systems. But I would say this, all of our homes after 2015, beginning of 2015, we started to build our homes so that a solar panel system can easily be hooked added on.
Sure.
And so the electrical, the wiring, the chase required is all there now. So it's not an expense for our homeowners per se in terms of the work to get it hooked up because we were able to do that through those partners.
Very interesting. So Restore, it's in Bloomfield on Cottage Grove Road. What are the hours of operation for that? So
the Restore is open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday is the late night. It opens up at 10 and it closes at 7 on Thursdays. And if you wanted to donate items, you simply just email a picture to Barbara@HartfordHabitat.org. She will then, reach back out to you, review the pictures of the items, and then schedule a pickup.
Wonderful. And when you're talking about scheduling a pickup, you're talking about Habitat actually coming to your home and getting that. So that's fabulous as well.
And it's, it goes, we've done some partnerships where we've actually helped families who are in the process of moving. And so imagine if you're moving and you have many items. And for us, it's a service, but it also helps that whole process. And it's worked really well. We opened the Restore in 2014. This October will be 3 years. And it has been a tremendous blessing to the community. And it has also helped us, the affiliate. We've renovated one home last year. We dedicated a home that was sponsored by the Restore.
That's great.
And we're hoping to do another one this year as well.
Wonderful. So if somebody doesn't remember all this information, is the Restore information on the Habitat website, or does it have its own?
Yes, it's on our website. So all you have to do is visit HartfordHabitat.org. And everything is there.
Okay, wonderful. So it's HartfordHabitat.org. That's wonderful information to know, and I know that I've been meaning to get to Restore because I have a bunch of things that I want to bring instead of so I'll have to send the photos of that. But I'd also love to visit and
Yes.
see what kinds of things there are as well, treasures, right?
Yeah, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at what's in there. You just, it's really, I mean, it's a gem.
Okay, great. So tell me a little bit about, I think a lot of people know that Jimmy Carter is associated with the Habitat for Humanity. I know he was recently in the news for his determination and dedication after, he had a medical incident at the site. But in fact, Jimmy Carter isn't the founder of Habitat. Can you tell us a little bit about, the roots of Habitat, and then also maybe Jimmy Carter's involvement?
Of course. So Habitat for Humanity was actually founded by Millard Fuller. So Mr. Fuller was a corporate executive. He had resources and means, and so he was living a very fulfilling life. But he also wanted to make sure that he stayed true, and he wanted to keep his family intact. And so, after some coaching from his wife, he realized, you know what, we can do more. We can do something else. And so basically Habitat for Humanity started in Americus, Georgia. And the whole idea was that we can help, but we don't want to be a giveaway. And that was embedded into the mission from the beginning.
Okay.
And so,
that's that hand up, not hand out
Right.
concept, right?
So that's embedded from beginning to end. And I'll share this. Our affiliate just recently went to a Dominican Republic, a build. It's called a Global Village Build in Dominican Republic, and the mission is the same in Connecticut as it is in DR, as it is in Nepal, as it is in Haiti.
Okay.
And I think that core, that seamless transition, even internationally, speaks volumes of what the Fullers brought to the mission, as well as what the other founders brought in terms of this is our concept and let's stay true to it. And even the idea that we're not going to charge interest, because if we're working with our brother, then we want to give him that opportunity and not be a burden.
Right.
And so that's how the 0% came in as well. So President Carter came in, he acknowledged it because it started in Americus, Georgia, became familiar with the beginnings of the mission, and really connected with it. For him, it identified with his faith, it would identify with his moral fibers, and he wanted to be a part of that.
Sure.
So I think he brought all of his popularity and his, frank conversation and honest feedback to it, and said, you know what, I can bring my resources to the mission. And he has done some phenomenal things for the mission, as well as nationally as well as internationally. We actually just had a team from our affiliate actually go to the Carter Project in Canada.
Wow.
So they were actually working in Edmonton, not too far from one house
amazing.
Over from President Carter's house.
Yeah.
So it's very a tight-knit neighborhood. It's weird. I shouldn't say it's weird, but it's special how
unique.
It's unique
Yes.
when you go to our different conferences and you talk to other members of the organization, and it's the same language. And we're in approximately about 72 countries.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it's uniform throughout.
And do the Fullers, do they remain involved? Are they still both alive?
They've both passed.
They have both passed. Okay. And Jimmy Carter is involved internationally still as well. Wow, that's amazing.
Most definitely.
And I understand that some of your team went to the Dominican Republic, you just mentioned that. And I wanted to ask you about how that comes about, how your staff, I know that most people who come to the nonprofit world come not for the dollars, but really for the change they're able to bring about. The mission speaks to them. So how are your staff selected to go on these trips? And also, is there any example or story you can tell me about a staff member who has done anything above and beyond on one of these trips?
Oh, I just want to share this story. So I would say I was starting start off saying that our affiliate was named the best place to work for 2 years in a row. And I think we have a phenomenal group of individuals who bring their heart, their compassion to the mission, to, you know, someone would say just to a job, but to them they take it so seriously. They are totally embedded. And so they bring that level of energy everywhere single day. With all of our operations building throughout the county, we're only a staff of 19, 20 people. So all of our operations, it's only 20 of us. But we do have our volunteer teams that help us make it possible. But it's an amazing group. So in April, we did the DR build, and it came together in the fact that our affiliate, and I should share this, each Habitat affiliate, we tithe 10% to international, and we actually pick which of our sister affiliates we want to support outside of the U.S.
Okay.
So for our affiliate, Hartford Habitat, we've partnered with Uganda, we've done Haiti, we've done Nepal, and we really sort of designate our tithe and our gifts towards countries that have had natural disasters. And in 2014, 2015, we started our partnership with the Dominican Republic, and I knew that there was great need there.
Okay.
And I knew that in terms of housing, that's the area that the community, the country needs the most. And so I wanted to go to a place that we could really see our dollars be impacted, and we could help as many families as possible. So I want to say, you know, the selection of which staff went and how did we do it, people raised money, they fundraised, they reached out, they figured out how to do it, and they said, yes, I want to do this.
That's great, yes.
And so really they just volunteered and said, I want to do a build.
Yes.
And so we had a mix of, it was 12 of us, and we had a mixture of about 6 of those volunteers were staff members. And I think everyone left the country saying, wow, I'm a part of this. I see it in Connecticut, but now I know that it's the same in the Dominican Republic, and I know that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. And you can see it. It's very tangible. The need is very tangible, but more so the love within the country is you can touch it.
Yes, yeah.
And so one of the things I would share is that we had a staff member, Barbara Blanchfield.
The same person that we send the restore photos to.
So Barbara came to the build, and if you meet Barbara, she's a unique individual. And so she came prepared with everything that you can imagine, Band-Aids, antiseptic, everything.
Yes.
But one of the things that she pulled out of her mighty bag was a Polaroid camera.
Okay.
And she made it her point that she brought this camera purposely for this trip. And while we were building, you would see kids going to school, you would see kids hanging around, and really they want to know what's happening. What's going on in my street? Who are you? Where are you from? And so Barbara connected with just about every single child in the neighborhood. And she had tons of film, and she thought it out and knew that she wanted to give them something to remember
that's right.
What happened in this experience. And so she took pictures of the kids, they were posing, and in many cases, this was the first time that they actually had a picture in their hand. And so for me, I was watching her doing this, and I'm like, you thought about this? This is what you
Yeah, she's very, first of all, very organized, but also like put herself in the shoes of this community that you're visiting for a week or however long it is, and now they have this amazing memory. Every time they look at this picture, beyond seeing the houses, they also know that they were touched as well as the community. That's amazing.
So no, it was. I want to say it was really a life-changing event. I know people say that, but it really is a transformative event where you go and you really make an impact. And I remember when we were pulling off from the job site that day, and I'm looking outside on the commuter bus, and the kids are sitting outside and they're looking at their pictures and they're talking and they're comparing their pictures, and it's like, it's amazing.
Yes. So you mentioned that 6 of the people on that trip were staff members. Were some of the others volunteers?
Yes.
So that's great to know, because I'd love to know more about volunteer opportunities in Hartford area, and I think the viewers would also love to know how they can get involved either as individuals or as part of groups.
Oh, most definitely. As we're entering into our faith group, into our fall season, we have tons of opportunities for volunteers to engage. Many times people think that we stop building in the fall and the winter months, but we are 24/7, 12 months out of the year.
Even in the dead of March.
Even in the dead of March, we're building. So this is the opportunity for individuals, faith groups, and you can actually bring together, you can make your teams. So if it's 2, 3 of you, if you want to come out, we want you, you know? And then the other part is you can do a public day and just we call it a partner day, and just join us on site. It's a great opportunity. If you wanted to pursue that, just go on our website, click on volunteer, and there's a box that says partner build days.
And what if somebody does not have access to a computer, or maybe is afraid of computers? Do you have a phone number that people could call? I know you have a volunteer coordinator.
Yes. So our phone number is 860-541-2208.
Okay, great.
And you just hit 1 and you'll be connected to our operator.
Wonderful. I know, like, most of us are computer literate, but sometimes some of our friends are not, and we don't want that to be a barrier for sure. And also groups. So if you're a member of a church or a mosque or a temple or perhaps some other kind of community group, is it the same way to get involved?
It's the same process. We try and make it uniform so that everyone is hearing the same. But, for us, it's, the way we build or the way we add or spread the word is by people. And so as many people as we can share the Habitat mission with, we want to do that. And I should add that we have other opportunities that if you want to get involved, but you don't want to go on a work site, still reach out. Because we have other opportunities for you to become ambassadors and represent the mission that may not be on the work site.
And perhaps maybe you might even have some office volunteering opportunities or different things like that.
Most definitely.
So definitely go to the website and explore that, or give a call, and probably you'll be able to help in some amazing way, right? So tell me about any events that you have coming up in the fall.
So I think our highlight is October 18th, we're going to have a volunteer appreciation event. It's at Mark Twain on Farmington Avenue. And the purpose of this event is just to say thank you. It's just to invite our volunteers to come out. It's, in some cases you may have built on a public build day or with your corporate group, but it's a way for us to touch back and say thank you. And it's also a way for us to share what's happening with the affiliate and where we're going. And we want to keep you engaged. And so this is the great place to do that.
Wonderful. And are there groups that come back every year and individuals who come back every year?
Yes. So, I mean, we've had people that host their birthday party on the work
that's
site.
Great. Wonderful.
We've had college campuses. We've had churches. We've had corporate partners. People tend to enjoy it because you leave so fulfilled. And so many times, people are looking for the opportunity to get back on. I will say that, as we're expanding and building more, we're actually in a place that we can accommodate more groups. Good. When I first came to the affiliate, we were only hosting maybe 2 groups a day, and now we're pushing between 3 and 4.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's almost double.
Almost double.
At times it is double.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So,
speaking of when you came to Habitat for Humanity, I'd love to share with our viewers a little bit more about your story and what drew you to the mission of Habitat. So would you share that with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a surprising one. So basically, I was introduced to Habitat in college, and
which was
Trinity College. And our chapter was our campus is Trinity has a very community-driven mission, and the program is structured so that students leave out knowing not just academics, but more so even how does that fit into the real world. And so I had an opportunity to do a housing advocacy trip to Washington, D.C., and there were tons of people, college kids as well as adults, advocating for housing and affordable home ownership. And that was my first introduction to, what is need.
Okay.
And what is homelessness, and how do we change that? And so I left that event saying, wow, this is real. This is people are actually, they may not have a house. They may not have a home. They just may not. They might be living in a car. And so during that process, I was a self-design major in community development and then started to explore. And I was introduced for the second time to the Habitat mission. I worked with United Technologies and very involved, very engaged corporate partner, and then had another opportunity to build again. And so through that process, I stayed connected, followed the mission, actually followed what was going on in Hartford, and said, you know what, this is something that I want to support. This is something I think I can be a help towards. And so had the opportunity to, a position came available in family services, and I said to myself, you know what, I could do this. I can, just to be honest, I can be a mom, and I can have a career, and I can actually see myself doing this for a good 5-6 years. Fast forward 12 years, and I get such a fulfillment out of what we can do with our partners, and more so the impact. Being with the affiliate for the past 12 years, I've met families when the children are, maybe 8 and 9, and now they're graduated from high school and they went off to college. And I had the opportunity about 2 years ago to go to a wedding of one of the homeowners who had just graduated from UConn. She was getting married, and she decided to go into engineering. And so it's a full circle. Yes. When you see that generational impact, right, and you see what that partnership did. Yes, exactly. You have all of these strangers, and we're coming and we're building, but the long-term impact, the long-term effect is what really pulls at my heart, and I enjoy getting up going to work every morning.
Now, could you ever envision that you would be leading the organization when you started as the family services coordinator?
Honestly, no. I did not see that as something I really wanted. But after being in that capacity for so many years, and when you intermingle the business skills and the family services skills, and how do you create community, and how do you make measurable impact, not just efforts. Right. How can you get to the point where the outcome justifies the efforts? Yes. And so that's the part that says to me, yeah, this is good. But no, I was comfortable.
And yet it seems as though, from what you were telling me, that your dad was in the construction industry, so in many ways this is kind of bringing all sides of you together. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So my dad, very much involved in construction, the hauling of materials. He was self-employed. I actually did some, side contracts in the midst of working with the affiliate. And so, if I was to go back and say, what else can I do? Watching my father, and his whole thing was I participated and I helped build this building. I brought the materials. For a period of time, he was a foreman, and so I was engaged in. I actually can say I built this. I was part of the team that made this, and so Habitat allows me to do that same 360, and
that's great.
It's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
So I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about one of the programs that I think is most near and dear to me, because I care very deeply about women's issues. You have a unique program called Women Build. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about, or tell me about, more about Women Build.
So Women Build started in the early 2000s, and I would share this. Over half of our volunteers are women. And so Habitat International came together and said, how can we honor our volunteers who are giving so much, and in many cases they're on the work site, they're also in the office, they're doing everything. They're touching the entire part of the mission.
Right.
And so that was one, to honor that dedication to the mission. The other piece was to empower, especially women, young women who have an interest in a field that is traditionally not a female profession.
Sure, right.
So construction
yes.
is primarily male. And so when women come on site and they're learning how to sheetrock, and they're learning how to frame, and they're learning how to properly paint a wall, and how to do certain phases of construction, that's the piece that said, wow, we're actually teaching skills, we're actually empowering, and we're giving opportunities for people to be able to go back into their own homes and make these repairs. And the third piece is that for some affiliates, depending on the region, you may have a larger percentage of single parents, single moms.
Single moms, right.
And so Women Build is bringing all of those targets together and saying, let's honor it.
Yes.
So we've participated in Women Build for at least 8-9 years.
Okay.
And we've seen the program grow. And what I like about it is that we have a special designation for that in the month of May, where we're honoring the National Women Build Week. Is that first full week of May, and it actually wraps up on Mother's Day. But what I like about Women Build is that you have women from corporate, from schools, social workers,
all walks
of life.
Yes, yep.
And in the midst of that week, you're breaking down walls.
Everyone's coming together.
And everyone's coming together, and everyone's building, and everyone's giving, but they're also receiving. And you leave with a smile on your face. You truly leave with a smile. And so we had our first luncheon this past year, and I think the opportunity for our homeowners to share their stories and to be able to share the impact of, I've been in my home for 11 years.
Yes.
And this is what it means to me that I have a key to my own door.
Yeah, very powerful.
Very powerful.
So you have done a first celebration luncheon.
Yes.
Is that something that you plan to continue?
Most definitely.
Wonderful.
Most definitely.
And you said it's always the first week in May. So if there are women either in groups or individuals who want to get involved, they could also call your volunteer coordinator and be
yes, most definitely. So,
added to whatever outreach list
so
there
call
is for
us.
that. Yes.
You can, the phone number again is 860-541-2208. You can actually speak to Rose Vigdal, who's in charge of Women's Bill for 2018. And she also manages all of our engagement in terms of getting women into the mission, in terms of if you want to be a crew leader, if you wanted to be a site host, if you wanted to be a snack provider, if you wanted to do some of the pre-training before Women Build. And we're expanding and we're building upon that. So
I bet there's probably even an opportunity for somebody who likes to organize or run events, since you have the luncheon as
most
well.
Definitely.
So that's wonderful as well. So you're on the cusp of the 30th anniversary of Hartford Area Habitat. So much has been accomplished over these nearly 30 years. What do you see as sort of the next 30 years, or at least, in the next 5 years, what are the challenges and the opportunities that you see ahead for Hartford Area Habitat?
So I would say the opportunities are great. We're looking to build more homes, as well as partner with more families. We've moved from a homes built to a family served model. And I think with what we're doing at the Restore, what we're doing with new construction, and even what we're doing with our multi-tiered housing program in terms of repairs and rehabs, we're able to serve more families. And so I think that's the direction that we really want to get into. One of the things that we're going to start the process for is creating an advocacy team to help bring awareness about why affordable home ownership matters, and why we should, especially when you think about the fact that we have so many vulnerable populations, when you think about the elders, veterans, and seniors that need the support to stay in their home. And, and what does that mean? That might mean a half a day repairing a porch. That might mean maybe a weekend building a ramp. But the end result for that family as well as that community is that you have another family aging in place in their home.
Wonderful.
And so that goes to stability of the community. That also goes to quality of life. And we want to support. We want to support those who are trying to come up, and we're also trying to support and make sure that we honor those who have done so much prior to for us. I would say one of our obstacles will continuously be the changing economic impact, and things are changing. We have some shortfalls coming up in terms of public funding,
budgeting, right?
Budgeting, and we're creating those safeguards to help the mission to stay forward, but those remain some concerns for us.
So it sounds like in the next chapter, there may be very much more intentional public policy advocacy.
Yes.
Do you also envision that you will be using your capacity as a convener of all these different groups and individuals, whether they're families that have gone through the program, your staff, the communities that come to volunteer, to educate them about what the policy issues are so that they can, in turn, impress upon their elected representatives that this matters. Affordable housing is important.
Yes, most definitely. We have some training, and I have to give applause to Habitat International. They have an entire support system to help our affiliates at the state and local level to train us on how to be real advocates and why it's important, and then how to bring our volunteers to that table. So we're looking forward to what we want to do for the next 30 years in terms of just that societal impact, so that it becomes at the forefront of people's minds in terms of what happens when the housing shortage is totally
so you're pricing people out.
Yes,
when that happens.
Basically, most likely. So we're trying to bring that to the forefront, that housing is a real issue, and it covers everyone.
Right.
It doesn't discriminate. You have housing and financial management and how to stay and how to maintain home throughout the state of Connecticut.
Right. So repairing and rehabbing.
Yes.
Those are sort of somewhat newer ventures for Habitat, and it's in line with the move towards families served versus houses built.
Right.
How does that work, and how do you find the families that benefit from that?
So in terms of our repair program, we work directly with the towns. And so in many cases, most towns have a senior services or elder care program, and so we actually go to those towns and say, do you have any homeowners, residents who are expressing concerns about their home and whether or not they can stay in their home? And in most cases, these populations are living on fixed income. And so the idea of making a major repair is outside of their warehouse at the moment. And so what can we do to support? So we've partnered with different towns to do that. We've also worked with churches. Thrivent Financial has a program called Thrivent Bills, and we've done a lot of repair projects through those funders. In terms of, for us, it's if we already have the staffing and it's just a matter of recruiting the volunteers, and we have partners that are willing to fund some of those improvements, then for us it's a win-win. Why not do it? So
is that the same approach you take working with the towns to also find the properties that are rehabbed as well?
So we actually work closely with their housing departments or the economic development, and in many times if there's a blighted property or a bank-owned property that has not been moved and it hasn't gone through the auction of the process, we will reach out and say, we're Habitat, we promise you we're going to put our owner in that home. And we can turn this unit that is just sitting here into a viable home situation for a family.
And in terms of the repair houses that you're working on, or the families or the elderly, whoever's in that situation, aside from working with the towns, are you also working with some of the faith-based organizations and senior centers and different places like that, where these individuals may frequent so they can hear about this amazing service?
Yeah, so I would say, you know, in the town of Bloomfield, as well as in the town of East Hartford, that was our model, where we went directly to their senior department and reached out and, you know, and said, this is what we're doing. And we typically like to do them, the repairs, in either April, May, October, or November.
Yes.
And the reason being is because those are the times when something that might be minor might change into a critical.
Okay, sure.
You know, so you have the change
with the winter coming ahead, or the hot
summers, and so it gives us an opportunity to, you know, in many cases, it's like a wraparound, because the towns may already be doing programs, and so when we go to the senior center and we say, this is an opportunity, this is something that we're doing, we haven't had any resistance at all. It's always been, you know, if anything, it's you know, so much demand. To do it, and balancing the supply. But it has been well received.
So if I am somebody who's on a fixed income, I've been in my house for a while and things are starting to, you know, frankly need repair, I'm watching this show. What is the process? If I was to contact you directly, what would the process be? What's the timeline generally?
So usually the process begins as basically you make a phone call. And you make a phone call, you call our Family Services Department, same phone number, and you explain your process. We will then mail you out an application. Okay. Our application is really simple. It's only about 3 pages. And then if you require assistance, we can actually come to your home and help you fill out the paperwork.
Oh, that's great.
And actually help you gather the materials so that we can then verify if everything is in order. And then we'll bring one of our contractors out, and they actually then do an assessment on the need of the repair project.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. That's a wonderful program that I didn't even know about. So thank you for sharing that with us. And then in terms of continuing sort of ed programs or refresher programs, if you have a family that either built a house together with Habitat, or perhaps a repair family, and they find themselves in some financial hardship, they're worried about, you know, being able to sustain. May they reach out to you? Is there any program for that?
Yeah, so last year we did a pilot program, and we created a program called the Financial Freedom Center. And that center allows us to stay connected with our homeowners, either ones that are in good standing with no issues, and even the ones that may be having some financial difficulties. But for us, the Financial Freedom Center allows us to stay connected, because we don't want it to be just a arm's length transaction. Sure. When you build and you've sweat with someone and you've worked with them and you met their kids, it requires that camaraderie, that you stay connected. Sure. So the center allows us to do that. One of the things that pivoted our transition into this program was the fact that we had so many families who were making these next steps. And so in many cases, they've purchased their home, they've maintained their home, but they may be wanting to make some more life milestones, or are they preparing for their children to go off to college? Right. And so the Financial Freedom Center allows us to bring volunteers in to help talk about how do you do that? Right. How do you, for instance, how do you go about the financing for a used vehicle? And what's predatory and what's not? And what's simple interest and what's fixed interest? Great. The other programs deal with financing education. And what is a grant? What is a loan? What is the FAFSA? Right. How do you complete it? Sure. What are the steps? And then we have just some regular savings. Let's build that nest egg. Let's plan for retirement.
Right.
Let's have a living will so that if something happens, this asset will then be turned over to family.
Yeah, so it's really kind of wrap around full whole life financial literacy. And as you point out, the FAFSA being the financial aid form, that for many of these families, this is going to be the first generation going to college, so they do need help navigating what is a very tricky process as well. So that's wonderful as well. So is that now embedded into the home ownership program? That's part of it?
Yes,
Wonderful.
most definitely.
Okay.
So what we try and do is there's about 12 different modules, and so the first 6 deals with everything pre-purchase, and the last 6 deal with post-purchase. And so our prospective homeowners are required to go through those workshops.
Yes.
And then we reach out to our homeowners that have already closed.
Yes.
And we say, this is our schedule. And we've also extended it. So we have a list of about 15 different agencies that we collaborate on where they can send their clients to these workshops for free. And so, you know, I'll share this. Many times when you're pulling credit and you're verifying for the home ownership program, you get to see what people are doing with their money, and you also get to see some of the pitfalls that they're falling into.
Okay.
And so, you know,
the patterns.
And so, you know, when you're pulling credit and you say, okay, well, what made you do this type of loan? Did you know what you were actually getting into?
Sure.
And then you realize that education
wasn't there at the time.
And so they really didn't know that they were signing on to this type of loan. And if they knew that, they probably would have did a second look at that before signing away.
Sure.
So it's, for us, I just think that it's a service for our homeowners, but it's also going to serve that greater community that needs that financial support.
Sort of doing a little bit of a forensic investigation and seeing where those financial trauma points were, and going back and making sure they understood what happened and why, so that way, you know, it's like any mistake. You need to find out why you did it, what happened, and so that way you can prevent it in the future as well. That's really wonderful. I think what would be great is to hear a story about one of your volunteers, but also a story about a family that you know, just maybe got a house as well that really moved you. Okay. Can you share a story about a volunteer and a family?
So am I allowed to share names?
I think as long as, I mean, why not? First names would be great.
So I think, so we have volunteers throughout the mission, and I've shared that. One of our volunteers does something really unique. Okay. Jean comes in once a week, and she goes through all of our mail, and she does the analysis on our homeowners and their insurance rates.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And she has a background in insurance. And so because we hold the mortgage, we get the escrow statements and we get the insurance reports. And so monthly she goes through and says, okay, this is what came in for this homeowner. This is what the rate was last year. This is what the rate is this year. Has it gone up? Yes. And if it has, why? Yes. And then she will then reach out to the homeowners and say, did you put a claim in? Okay. And she'll do all of that research. Right. And then in many cases, if the homeowner hasn't put a claim in and the home is in good condition, she'll then say, okay, Karraine, we need to consider shopping this homeowner so we can get more affordable, a better interest rate. Sure, by moving. By moving, yeah. Oh. And so, I mean, that's one example, and then she also comes in July and she comes in January for taxes.
So this is somebody who has these amazing skills, is retired and wants to give back, and what a great way to do that, because it's helping not only Habitat but particularly the families. The families, of course. That's wonderful.
I mean, and we have so many volunteers. I'll share one other quick volunteer. We have a volunteer that comes in at the Restore. Her background is in like a fix-it kind of electrical repairs, and so a lot of if you go to the Restore and you look at the light fixtures, Arlene, in most most cases has touched, repaired,
Okay.
inspected, and made sure that that light fixture works.
Okay. Wow.
And that's what she has her own little area with.
How often does she come?
She comes in once a week.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she comes in and makes sure that when we're getting these donations, she's
Yes.
checking to make sure that it works. If it doesn't work, she does the repair and she gets it to work.
And did she already know how to do these repairs?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
amazing.
So she's bringing her skills.
Wow. So she's very proud and she has her kind of turf. And
Yes.
that's amazing that she has those skills. That's something I'd love to learn a little bit about. I guess we're almost out of time. So how would we be able to hear or see or learn about some of the stories of the families? Is there information like that on the website that we can find?
Most definitely.
Or can we sign up for a newsletter, perhaps?
Most definitely. So all you would have to do is you can call us and you can register that way through our office. Our receptionist will help you out and get you on our mailing list. All of our newsletters are available on our website as well. And we also have an e-newsletter that goes out monthly.
Okay, wonderful. So best place to start is hartfordhabitat.org, and the phone number again
is 860-541-2208.
And it's a wonderful time to become a volunteer, and then you can go to the celebration at the Mark Twain House on October 18th?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Karraine, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Donna.
Okay, thank you. This has been another episode of the Nonprofit World TV show. I'm your host, Donna Hagigat. This show is a production of Sara DeGraff.